New York City's socialist mayoral contender Zohran Mamdani is under a scorching spotlight after explosive reports revealed his ties to corruption. And we're not talking about a little slip-up here. This is the kind of brazen scandal that ruins careers and can actually land people behind bars. And while this story unfolds, Mamdani completely imploded on stage last night in a spectacle of epic failure. Plus, his true colors came out, showcasing a Uganda-first socialist who hates the wealthy, except, of course, when they're funneling cash into his campaign. And just when you think it couldn't get any worse, he tries to flex star power. He brings out Letitia James, who I'm telling you has a complete and utter meltdown over her mortgage fraud indictment. This clip shows she is in pure panic mode. As always, smash that like button, subscribe, and stay tuned. I've got a bonus clip for you at the end. It's pretty funny. In fact, I should warn you, don't take a sip while watching, or you just might choke. But first, let's break down Zohran Mamdani's absolute train wreck of a rally that happened last night. He stormed the stage to a rap track. I can't even air it for you. I wanted to play you the clip, but it is packed with profanity and chilling references to violence. Murdering people, to be exact. I mean, seriously, search it out online. It is a stunning low for anyone vying for office in America. Mamdani, he shows zero loyalty, though, to this nation, with an agenda that pushes to create a socialist empire that traps people in government just for ultimate control. Now, once he took the stage, it didn't improve. You know you're in for a disaster when your opener is a dire warning about eruptions from the crowd. He literally took the stage and spent a ridiculous amount of time prepping the crowd for any potential outbursts. But when he tried to unveil his grand plan to counter opposition, he ran into wall after wall.
Now, who knows? We might have some hecklers tonight. We don't really know what's going to happen. So I just want to give you some instructions on what we're going to do if we are interrupted tonight. Basically, anything goes wrong, you're going to hear some music. Let's hear that music now. Please. Listen, I have a musical theater degree. I will fucking sing if I have to. All right, what do we do when we get this music? What do? We stand up. We stand up. We move. Everyone do it. There we go.
This doesn't scream leadership. It looks more like a middle school talent show. I mean, the left is so focused on theatrics and looking hip instead of portraying themselves as professional and someone we can trust to lead us in difficult times. This is a man who rails against capitalism, borders, white people. I mean, the guy who can't even cue his own background music wants to run the largest and wealthiest city in America. Well, watch what happens next as the train falls even further off the tracks. You thought getting the music to start was a challenge? Well, apparently turning it off is equally as hard. Honestly, I've seen toddlers run lemonade stands with better organization than this, but it only gets worse. Next, he tells a story about a pastor that is literally helping an illegal immigrant dodge ICE, and the crowd cheers. These people aren't just ignoring the law, they're actively breaking it and celebrating it as heroism. Watch this.
He turned to a few court watchers in the room and asked them to go outside first. He asked another man to hold the elevator. He picked up the young woman under her arms, opened the doors, rushed her past ICE agents, into the elevator and down into a waiting car before speeding off back to Brooklyn.
Since when do private citizens get to decide which crimes are morally okay? And why are we letting someone who wasn't even born in this country tell us which of our laws he plans to ignore? Can you imagine what would happen if we went to Uganda, stood on a stage, and openly promoted breaking the law? I don't think their government would take kindly to that. And trying to rewrite laws made by Congress isn't the only destructive thing he's engaged in. He's now being accused of taking in nearly $13,000 in illegal foreign donations. Calls for his campaign to be investigated are now growing. And the $13,000 in question is being said to have come from at least 170 contributors. That's according to the NYC Campaign Finance Board records. This also includes a donation from his mother-in-law in Dubai, whose funds were later returned. Although not everybody's were. So far, the campaign has failed to return 88 of the foreign donations, worth a total of $7,190. And remember, foreign donations to U.S. campaigns are illegal. Yet Democrats who screamed Russian interference for years, silent. Suddenly, foreign influence isn't a problem when it's helping their socialist. And here's where it gets slimy. Forensic accountant Sam Antar discovered a $13 million Soros money trail, funneling through nonprofits like Bend the Arc, where George Soros' foundation donates to a charitable 501c3, which then passes money to a political 501c4 that is chaired by his son, Alex Soros. Antar writes, quote, "Memo to Zohran Mamdani, you rail against billionaires and boast about taxing them, yet George Soros got a tax deduction to bankroll the very pipeline that's now endorsing you. Funny how eat the rich always comes with the side of loopholes when it benefits you." Now, after doing some digging, we also discovered that Jamie Burren is the CEO for both entities, essentially running both the charity that gets the money and the political arm making the endorsements, connecting family influence, foundation funding, and political power under one roof. And guess what? None of it shows up in New York City's campaign finance reports. Not the $13 million pipeline, not the Soros money, not the overlapping leadership. This setup isn't just political, it's financial. By routing money through a charitable nonprofit before it lands in a political arm, George Soros' foundation can turn what looks like political spending into a tax-deductible donation. Soros is funding political causes and writing them off as charity. Doesn't that loophole go against everything Mamdani apparently stands for? And just to top it off, in the hours leading up to the ceasefire and release of hostages, Mamdani ran in the New York City Gaza 5K. He was raising money for the notorious UN Relief and Works Agency for Palestine refugees. This is an organization that is accused of employing operatives who participated in the horrific attacks on Israel. I mean, this man isn't running for mayor. He's auditioning for a UN sympathy tour. And who does he bring out for star power? None other than Letitia James. Apparently, the New York Attorney General thought the crowd was pledging allegiance to mortgage fraud. And the sign seems eerily relevant, doesn't it? Because it sure looks like her time has come. We are now learning that the indictment just unsealed against Attorney General Letitia James may only be the first of multiple charges heading her way. Sam Antar, the forensic accountant who exposed Mamdani's shady campaign donations and who famously uncovered James' mortgage fraud, says more charges are likely coming. For days, the mainstream media has been trying to sell Americans the story that she just made an honest mistake on a mortgage application. But Antar's investigation tells a very different story. Every single mortgage document that she signed over the past 42 years contained false information. This wasn't a slip-up. This wasn't a clerical error or a little white lie to get a better rate. No, this is a decades-long pattern of deliberate criminal behavior.
Everybody's looking at that one property. There's two other properties that she committed mortgage fraud on, and every single mortgage document that she signed going back 42 years with her signature on it had falsified information, was false.
So you're saying all three properties, all mortgage fraud across the board?
Yes, this
Clean
is like,
sweep
this is not a
for Letitia
one-off.
James.
I'm sorry, this is not a one-off mistake.
Yeah.
This is one right after the other, right after the other.
So you're saying she knew what she was doing and was doing it on repeat? That's
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, unfortunately, yes.
Democrats really do believe accountability doesn't apply to them. They thought they could indict a former president 91 times and never have to answer for anything themselves. That's how arrogant they are. You can't open Pandora's box and expect the storm to skip you. Letitia James, she went after President Trump with 34 felony charges for a crime that had no victim. The banks were paid in full, and they even said they would gladly do business with him again. It was a political hit job, plain and simple. And now that she's under investigation, she's actually comparing her own alleged mortgage fraud to the horrors of her ancestors. That is disgusting. The result of your own alleged corruption to generations who suffered under slavery, segregation, and even real justice? That's not courage. That's manipulation.
Despite being seared with scars, they survived. And if they can survive, so will we. I will not bend. I will not capitulate. I will not give in. I will not give up.
Why is she yelling? That's not strength. That's panic. That is the sound of someone who knows the walls are closing in. Letitia James, she isn't a victim of injustice. She's the poster child for hypocrisy. She tried to take down Trump for 34 felonies in a victimless case, and now she's crying foul when justice comes knocking on her door. Well, you can't swing the sword of accountability and then play victim when it cuts both ways. The media, also trying to escape accountability for the role they played in sensationalizing Trump's indictment and now act like Letitia James is getting picked on by a bully. Watch Senator Lindsey Graham shut down NBC's Kristen Welker, who is trying to claim that President Trump is the actual problem here in Letitia James' mortgage fraud case.
The fact that President Trump publicly called for his attorney general to indict people. Do you think that crosses a line between the Justice Department being independent from the executive branch?
I think our Justice Department in the hands of Biden crossed every line there is to cross. I think within 3 days of announcing he was going to run for president in 2024, he did that in 2022.
But what about Trump?
He had 91
Senator, what about
indictments.
Trump? What about?
Now, I think the grand jury is going to take care of this, but you didn't care any about this. You didn't care that Leticia James made up charges that no one's ever faced.
But Senator Biden never publicly called for Trump to be indicted.
He had 90. Biden regretted that they didn't do it before the election. Jack Smith surveilled my phone records and 8 other senators. Jack Smith introduced his brief against Trump October the 24th before the 2024 election, violating every protocol just to politicize the election. So this may bother you that people are being held accountable. It doesn't bother me one damn bit.
What's really crossing the line? Someone bringing 34 felony charges over a victimless bookkeeping case. What's crossing the line? Someone campaigning to go after a political opponent. Someone trying a mortgage fraud case while committing fraud themselves. Someone with the audacity to compare their own crimes to the suffering of their ancestors. That's what crosses the line, Kristen Welker. But see, the media keeps letting this slide. They're never going to learn their lesson either until all Americans finally tune out their garbage once and for all. Now, speaking of lessons, this one in comic relief, let's turn to the bonus clip I promised. Senator John Kennedy, he is the gift that keeps on giving. Love this guy. He has a way of cutting through absurdity and making it crystal clear while also making you laugh. Now pair him with the gentleman from the Ruthless podcast and you get pure entertainment. I've watched this clip a few times. It makes me crack up every time. Had to share it with you. Watch this.
How can I put this? I think that the Congresswoman is single-handedly trying to put an end to dumb blonde jokes. And our attitude is, you've heard me say it before, our secret plan is Operation Let Her Speak. Yeah. and Chuck, just he sees what we see. Yeah. But he can't seem to figure out how to defeat it. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Now, and look, don't misunderstand me. I like Chuck. He's a friend. But he could start if he'd stop all the spastic arm movements. He goes, I believe strongly in this. And you go, Chuck, just loosen up, man. Yeah.
You're somewhat of an artist when it comes to language. Mm-hmm. Linguistics.
I don't get nearly enough credit for things I don't say.
Yeah. Regional dialects or something that is that core competency.
That means that my voice scares small children.
You're going to have a reaction to your colleague Sheldon Whitehouse. We talked about it on the program earlier this week. You gotta hear. Leverage is a big thing. Let's hear from Sheldon the way he sort of articulates this.
But we'd rather negotiate with you after you've given away your leverage. Do it in a couple of days or a couple of weeks when we've given up our negotiating leverage. Your leverage.
That sounds a lot like cleavage. So, leverage, Sheldon. I love Sheldon. It's a nice suit. I remember when it was in. Back in 1978. Now, I got to speak to the boy. You just can't take him anywhere. Leverage.
So good, right? Now, before I let you go, I want you to see President Trump's reaction to yesterday's chaos. If you missed it, I did a full episode on Vice President J.D. Vance's interview he did over the weekend with ABC's George Stephanopoulos. And the president, he's now firing back after the network cut the VP's mic as he was dismantling the media's lies with straight-up facts. Not the first time ABC has done this either. And now Trump, he's drawing a very hard line. He and Vance will no longer grant interviews to ABC after the blatant disrespect shown to the VP.
Brian, first of all, congratulations. I don't take questions from ABC Fake News. After what you did with Stephanopoulos to the Vice President of the United States, don't take questions from ABC fake news. JD had a very nasty person interviewing him, and we can't let that happen. Just as inappropriate to cut off a highly respected vice president of the United States mid-sentence. I guess it's one way to win an argument. That was the only way he was going to win the argument. So it was pretty inappropriate, I want to tell you that.
The media certainly didn't like it when Jimmy Kimmel was silenced, but it's okay to shut down the vice president of the United States' First Amendment right? I don't think so. And when the media tries to silence the vice president, the whole country deserves to hear about it like they did today. Stick around, because in the next video, I'm showing you the entire interview. Every word JD Vance said before ABC turned off his mic and cut to commercial break. You don't want to miss it. Go ahead, click on it now, and I'll see you over there. Thanks for watching today. Have a great rest of your day, everybody.